Hello, and welcome to another Power On podcast of 00Status. I am one of your hosts. What I got at 553? Taylor. Hi, how's it going? And with me is the Sniffly.
Yep.
Snuffleupagus. Sushi B. How you doing?
Hi, bird. I don't even think Snuffy's on there anymore.
What?
Because they've removed a bunch of characters, right? Like, they let Elmo become the de facto star, and I think Big Bird's on there, but a lot of the smaller side characters, I don't think they're really on there anymore.
Why would they get rid of Snuffleupagus?
Probably couldn't convince 4 people to go in the suit or whatever it took to manage that.
That's a lot of puppetry going on there, I guess.
You had somebody doing the eyes, somebody doing the front and back feet, yeah. And I'm sure it probably took, I would guess, maybe 3 people. Maybe 2. I don't know, maybe 2.
For shame. For shame.
But I'm hanging in there, and I will do my best to keep up with you on this episode.
All right. But I think I might have also forgot. Hi, how's everybody doing?
Yep.
My brain's not here. I'm super sleepy. And not because of this movie. But
we're going to grind this one out.
yeah, like work has been grinding me to death. So, yeah. Gracious. Tomorrow never dies. That's where we're at. Boy, since you're the one that picked it, you want to start with like how you recall this movie?
Sure.
From 1997.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the first time I'd seen it. I don't think I seen this movie in one full sitting initially. Probably saw bits and pieces of it over time, and then I would say probably close to the time that Die Another Day might have been coming out. Is probably when I saw the full movie, like in one sitting. Somewhere around there, I feel like. It's hazy, I don't remember. But I do know I've seen this one off and on quite a lot. Not maybe as much as Casino Royale, but quite a lot. So a lot of the parts of the movie are very memorable, just based on seeing those chunks and just seeming to catch those chunks over and over. Yeah. How about for you?
So, for a very long time, I would always conflate this with what's the one scene from The World's Not Enough where there's the logging, like the helicopter and the blades cut and everything.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So that scene, I always feel like that is in this movie for some reason. I don't remember why, but the most prominent thing I remember is the ending, but at the ending of it in the PlayStation 1 game.
Oh, okay. Is it the same, or?
It's pretty much the same from what I recall. Maybe I'm complaining it, but it's pretty much the same. And yeah, so that always like stuck with me. And then the movie itself, I watched it's been shortly after that, so I'm looking at like 98, 99.
Okay.
Around there. And yeah, like it's one of those where, we're watching it for this, and I was like, oh, totally forgot Terry Hatcher's in this movie.
Yeah, it's a pretty small role for the movie.
It's a small role, but right. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, and the major, I'd say 2 players, because I don't know Jonathan Pryce, but I think he's like a big actor, but I don't.
Yeah, I think he's fairly well known. I don't know a ton of things he's in. I know he was in the Pirates of the Caribbean series as well.
Oh wait, he was?
Yeah, he was. He was the father of the Elizabeth Swann character, right? He was the one at the end that basically just lets Jack Sparrow go free.
Is that what's her name?
Keira Knightley.
Is that her character's name?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's like the governor or whatever his role was.
Okay.
And he does show up in the others, but much less of a role. Like his role is much smaller in the subsequent films. That's him in this, and then I think he just pops up in things here and there. I would assume in British film he's probably a little more well known.
Well, he's Elliot Carver in this one.
He sure is.
So, but yeah, that's I don't really have it too much of a distinct memory other than so I watched this. I don't know how this will speak to how I feel about this movie. Revealing my cards one corner at a time, but I watched the behind the scenes, and the behind the scenes I actually very vividly remember because it was a show that was, or that's not like a show, but it's only a show, like one time thing sort of show.
Like
if that makes sense.
A hype show kind of.
Yeah, kind of, and that's what it was like, explaining Bond, the women of Bond, and stuff like that. It was like it's like a 45-minute thing made for TV, hyping up the soon to be released
upcoming film. Yeah.
Right. And I remember that thing distinctly, and I was watching this, I was like, holy crap, I remember watching this. And then came to the movie, I'm like, I don't really remember this movie at all.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. For whatever reason, this movie just it's very Teflon to me. It just kind of bounces off. I'm like, okay. So.
Okay. I can't say I remember seeing any sort of, I don't know, what would you call those? A lot of movies used to do that long ago, right? Or they'd be on like an entertainment show showcasing, 5 minutes of them, talking to the actors and stuff like that. We don't really get that as much anymore, just with the advent of the way media is consumed and stuff now. It just looks a lot different. It's just a lot more. It seems like there's tons of just teaser after teaser after teaser, right? And you don't really, I don't know, the press part of things looks a lot different now than it used to.
All that edging.
Yeah. Probably contributes to why once something does get out there, you've got all these quote fan furry. Wow, I can't even talk. Fan theories. Furries. Yeah, the fan furries. But the fan theories, and then it kind of starts to twist your brain into things, and you have people that just will analyze a 2-minute trailer and somehow decipher like quite a lot. I don't know how they can do that. Not everybody, but there are some that you're just like, wow, that's pretty crazy they can be that spot on, but they're just so hyper focused on all these little details, and must be hard as a person trying to cut a trailer to not give away too much.
Right. Yeah. Also, now that I think about it, this movie came out like the same day as Titanic.
Oh, okay.
Kind of, it still hit pretty well.
It still did, yeah. It didn't get sunk immediately, so.
Oh, but
yeah.
And I got dragged to the drive-in theaters because my mom and like one of her friends wanted to go see it. So I got dragged into having to watch that movie over getting to see this thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Perhaps your memory would have been a little bit different if you had a drive. For anybody who doesn't know what a drive-in is, you'd sit in your car and watch a movie. Maybe you'd have a little bit more of a affinity for the film.
Just maybe a stronger like initial connection or something with it. But nope,
and less hate for Titanic.
I mean, there was boobs. That was nice. I mean, like 11 years old
okay.
at the time. Stayed up for that. Fell asleep during The Matrix. I hate that movie. I said it. Say it again. I hate The Matrix. Boring movie. The end. Anyways, Tomorrow Never Dies.
So what are we gonna hit up here on the good side of things here? I will say I like the title.
It's a good title.
It's catchy. It definitely has that classic Bond feel to it.
It snaps. It's a good, it just snaps. Nice little phrase, gets to the point. I will say this, I like the ending theme. I'll say that.
Okay. Like when Michelle Yeoh's character falls into the water? Or the
No,
very end?
the very end.
Oh,
Like
okay.
ending
The
credits.
Surrender? The song Surrender?
Is it Surrender?
Yeah, by Katie Lang.
Yeah.
Like this, you're talking about the song that's got lyrics, like sung
Yeah,
lyrics?
yeah.
Yeah, that's Surrender by Katie Lang.
Okay. Yeah, I like that song a good deal. I'm like, the whole time I'm thinking, why didn't you use this?
Well, I think it had come down to the two songs. I think,
Yeah.
and I do believe Katie Lang actually wrote it with David Arnold. I believe. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm pretty sure I read something about that. So.
But yeah, why not? Because it was so much better than Sharp Crows. But that's for later.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I had to throw that out there before I forgot.
No, for sure. Like it's all right. I don't mind it. I same as you. I do prefer it over the Chosen theme song. I think it's a better song, but I don't know if I love it. But it has a lot of the classic Bond trumpets and stuff that really give it a little bit of that flair. So.
But yeah. Sorry, I had to take that baton real quick and be like,
Nope. Oh, it's all good. And the only thing I can think of why maybe they didn't end up picking it partly is because I don't know how famous Katie Lang is. Like, I assume they were like, oh, shit, more people know Sheryl Crow. So, because it just seems to always be the case. Like, look at Quantum. They were like, oh, we can't pick a no-name, even though the song is infinitely better than the one we're about to pick. So I don't know if that's part of the issue. That they kind of get hung up on, no, we have to pick somebody that people know. But, anyways. Yeah, I have a bunch, but I was just wondering if you had anyone to throw out, like right off the top of your head, or that you wanted to delve deep into.
I wanted to run with that one. I don't necessarily mind. I like, for the most part, the opening.
Okay.
The cold open. Outside of like the airplane bit, seemed a little excessive, but
yeah,
like,
a little
bit. Just that like that part of it's because it's all on the borders of Russian territory. It's got that like that stank of GoldenEye still there. Kind that of, I'm like, oh, I'm okay with this.
If that could have been filmed as part of GoldenEye, who knows, right? They just ended up tacking it in there. But it's a fun cold open. We don't seem to get the cold opens that are just in of themselves, right? Like it's like a mini film within the film. Like it seems they want to try to draw them out to connect them to something purposeful later on. So it's just a fun open, and it still does. It does. I mean, it has the descrambler, right? Like so, it still has a small bit that does connect, but for the most part, it's just meant to just be a fun action sequence.
Got the scrambler, and also it's got what the heck is his name? It's Ricky J.
Gupta?
Gupta. Ricky J. I know him from Deadwood, because he's in Deadwood. And I was like, oh, I know you. I forgot that you were in this movie.
So. He's a magician or something, is he not?
Yeah, yes, he was.
Yeah. So I did see a little bit of behind the scenes for this, that he's quite good at throwing playing cards. So I guess when they had cast him, they did have a couple of scenes filmed that that was gonna be his shtick, was to throw playing cards and kill guys with playing cards and stuff.
Odd job with playing cards.
Yeah, kind of. But then I don't know why they ended up kind of scaling back, and then it's kind of odd that he's this talented magician and they didn't really. His role is fine in the movie, but it just could have been any actor, really, right? Like they could have replaced him with somebody else, but for people that know him, they're kind of like, oh, they didn't really utilize him maybe as much as they could have.
Yeah, he doesn't really. Outside of like knowing him from Deadwood and stuff, and because he is a craps dealer, and then also kind of see him fiddling with coins and cards and stuff. So you get just a very minimal bit there for that. I really don't do anything for him here. I'm kind of okay with that, just because of how actiony this movie is.
Yeah, like, okay. Going back to Deadwood, I could see his look being really good for a Western. Like, he just, because he's got, like, the bristly beard and stuff, like, his look would be really good for, like you said, as a car dealer or gambler or something in a movie. I could really see that.
Yeah, and he pulls off the look well.
Yeah, this is a very action-heavy movie. Like, it's not that GoldenEye wasn't. GoldenEye has plenty of action set pieces and stuff, but this one definitely kicks it up a little bit more with it. This is probably, yeah, I would say, I would say probably more so than even the other two.
It feels like it.
Yeah, at least it feels like it.
It is. If there is not a gun firing, it's in the first third of the movie. It's like there's a lot of bullets flying in this one.
Kicks, punches, bullets.
Kicks, punch, kick, Solomon.
Sharpened weapons, blades, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's some knife action in that. I kind of like that too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
I not to sound morbid or anything, but it's like it's nice to see the more silent approach being taken here.
Something different, is it?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure if that lies in the positives for you or not. For me, it does.
I think
I'm fine with it.
Positive.
I actually find that the flow of the movie the buildup is good. The very, very end, that's a little bit of a letdown from an action set piece. But all the other pieces, it's just like, there's a good buildup to what the next set piece is going to be. And it doesn't go so overboard of like, oh, you'll never top this. But it kind of gets close to with the motorcycle chase.
I was going to say, I don't think the pacing is bad, but I don't think the story does well with the pacing. Part of it's because there's this clock of, it's 48 hours. And it just doesn't feel like 48 hours, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that whole countdown and everything, just maybe it's because it's not in your face, like 24,
right?
Tick, 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 tick.
It's not referenced much. It's brought up and then it's just kind of set to the wayside. You're just meant to go along for the ride, kind of thing.
And go on for a ride, you do. I don't know. Myself, I don't mind it, but it feels a bit excessive.
Okay.
To me. And I think it maybe just because of how the story, like the pacing of the story itself really bottlenecks, and then that's where all the action comes in. So sort of keep the flow going, but it feels a bit lumpy.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. The story does suffer a little bit here, but I think I'm just having such a fun time as I'm watching it that I'm like, it's okay.
You turn your brain off on this one.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of good espionage bit with it.
Not really, no. A little bit, like on the boat and stuff, like the stealth boat, but mostly it's just really bombastic and really over the top. But I'm okay with this because we don't get it all the time in a Bond movie, and it seems like it's nice if an actor has done a little bit of variance in their movies. Like I would say Quantum is kind of like that, right? There's obviously story there, but it's pretty bang, like next, like we're just moving at a really brisk pace. So this movie kind of follows a similar beat with that. But again, I don't mind it because it's just fun.
Well, yeah, I guess the quote unquote problem is the bait and switch of Paris, Terry Hatcher's character. Because there's this more of like, oh, this is previous connection sort of thing.
Right.
And so it starts to like try to sink its hooks into you on that more emotional front. And that, it starts to happen, and then it's just like, okay, we're going into second and third gear real quick. Okay, boom, boom, and it starts shifting. And then, it's just, it goes from there.
It's kind of funny, they do pull a similar beat in The World Is Not Enough. It's very similar with the connection with that female lead. There's a pretty hard parallel there. So maybe they were, we kind of goofed on this one. Maybe we kind of got to make it up because there's like, it's like, someone from Bond's past, blah blah blah.
But I mean, it's Marceau.
I think she was pregnant in here too, Terry Hatcher. So that, I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the limited screen time she actually has.
Yeah, maybe. But the later behind the scenes are so devoid of good information for me.
You know you want to see this movie. But why? You just want to see it.
It's just, more of a documentary on the movie itself would be nice, and they don't really do a good job of giving any sort of meaty information. It's just kind of this was going to happen. They went into some of the details for the stunt, the helicopter jump and the motorcycle jumping over that, having to hit at like dead on 50 mile an hour to make that jump proper and stuff like that. It's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And I assumed as I was watching it that wasn't done with any sort of screens or something. It looked pretty, I mean, you never know when you watch a movie, right? You can be fooled pretty easily, but I was like, that looks like somebody actually had to pull that off.
That's what they did.
That's pretty nuts.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And that's, I guess, another big bonus. That motorcycle bit is enjoyable. I really like that.
Yeah, me too. The only questionable piece is, why is there this beautiful BMW, frankly, sitting on the streets of Hanoi? It's just it's a little bit.
Are they in Hanoi?
Well, they're in Vietnam for sure. I assume
they're in
Hanoi.
Saigon.
Okay, maybe they're in Saigon.
It's Saigon, I thought.
But well, it's not really Saigon at that point anymore. It should be Ho Chi Minh.
I'll be honest, I'm not, outside of hearing how really cool, for lack of a better way to phrase it, Vietnamese people are, I'm not very familiar with a lot when it comes to...
after the war, Saigon, the fall of Saigon, right?
Right.
Anyways, they're in Vietnam, regardless, right? They're in Vietnam, so it's a little bit you would expect to see smaller scooters or plain motorcycles, not necessarily a top end. Not to say there aren't people that might have them, of course, but it's just convenient that Bond would pick out and find, this beautiful brand new motorcycle to escape on. But it's such a fun scene though. It's just, I don't know if for sure if Michelle Yeoh was, I had heard she was not allowed to do the stunts, even though, she basically begged to do her stunts because she pretty much always has.
Mm-hmm.
But I heard that they were worried about insurance and stuff, and if she got hurt and this and that.
I know she pretty much choreographed that little fight scene there when she gets to, when they finally, after they escape and everything.
Yeah.
So.
Didn't somebody at one point say too, there's only 3 actors in the world you can't insure? It's Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Michelle Yeoh are the only 3 that are uninsurable because they're just, they take way too many risks. No insurance provider is crazy enough to take them on, kind of thing. But anyways, I love the motorcycle scene because it's so much fun. I could see an argument that it goes on too long, but I'm fine with it. I'm not bored at all during that sequence. I just find it's really engaging, and there's enough going on that it's fun. I love the slide under. It's silly, the helicopter blades coming to chop them up, but no more sillier than the, like you said, in the forest, whatever, quadruple blade, they cutting trees down. But it's a cool stunt, right, when they slide under. Now I know they didn't obviously do that one like perfectly, but somebody slid the bike under, right? Like that's still I'm sure they did that, so that's pretty cool still. And the box art for the copy I have, that's what the box art is. It's the two of them on the side sliding.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, that's a pretty cool cover. So it's just a fun sequence, and fun to see, like, she's flipping from the front to the back and trying to keep the weight, but then be able to see what's going on, and I just find it really fun.
Yeah, I think the thing that may make it feel lengthier, as well as the fact that there's like two instances of like her flipping to the front of the bike,
right,
kind of thing, and then they show it twice, so I kind of wonder if maybe she did do it, because it seems like there's an odd. Maybe it's there just to show continuity for it and stuff, and not maybe. To. It seemed a little odd that she did it twice, kind of thing going on with it. But
it looked like Pierce was driving it at points too. Like, so I don't know how they ended up filming all of that. Like, I see her just being sure, whatever. Like, I'll do this. She jumped on a motorcycle onto a moving train.
You're right.
So I don't think this is just an every Saturday afternoon for her. There's no big deal. But it looked like Pierce was riding. Like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't paying close attention to the backdrop if that was screened. But it looked to me like he was driving at points. So
Pierce certainly looks like he's just having fun this whole movie, though.
He does. He does look like he's having fun. And good on him for that. Right? Like he
Especially
didn't get too
car.
serious.
The car. He's just like flailing about in the backseat, like, oh yeah, this is totally fun.
Well, when he has like the big smirk on his face when he inflates the tires.
You're right.
Yeah. And that's probably my least favorite action sequence in the whole movie, and it's still good. Like, it's still fun.
Yeah, that one's a little, I think, because it's a little disorienting. It's just kind of like, where are you looping to? Like, and it doesn't help because it's in a parking garage. But
right. I just find that one's long to me. I'm like, drop the spikes, drive back over the spikes, cut the wire, like this
bazooka going through.
Yeah, shoots like missiles at the closed gate, doesn't open,
shutter gate,
shoots missiles again. Yeah, right. The bazooka flies through the open window. So it's cool. Like, it's cool to showcase all the stuff on the car. But I mean, they outdid themselves by Die Another Day, right? They were like, hey, remember all that cool stuff we had? We're gonna add, even more stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty good point, because it's kind of similar to disorientation as going through the ice palace. It's just like, oh, loop de loop, loop de loop, loop de loop. Okay, all right, cool. But it's in ice. So
Pierce seemed to get the benefit of some pretty cool cars as a whole. Like the car in The World Is Not Enough is really good. Nice. It's got that blue BMW.
All of his movies seem to have like nifty gadgets. Nifty gadgets, nifty cars. He's a nifty Bond.
Yeah. It all gets taken away. Well, I wouldn't say
no more fun.
I mean, Craig got that beautiful Aston Martin that gets trashed by Quantum, but
right.
Beautiful car. I know some people really like the part of the plot that's about all of the basically taking over the media. Some people really hate it, but it does kind of feel relevant still, right? Like, just a lot of the stuff that's going on in modern times with quote unquote fake news and this and that, and what do you believe? And we were just talking before this about opinions versus facts and stuff. So there's a lot of relevancy to the plot. It just doesn't get a lot of spotlight, but what we do get, you're like, okay, yeah, that's still relevant today.
Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about Carver, because Carver's like, he is loop de loop. Like, he's there isn't any hiding that he is. They're just bonkers.
Right.
I'm just going for the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
He's kind of that
Also,
megalomaniac, kind of in the vein of Carl or
or
Drax, kind
yeah.
of. Yeah, like he is, but to me, he's a step up from those guys, where those are, like, yeah, they're not as maybe as insane in the same way that this guy's like, I'll do anything just to make news, just because, it makes me money and profit and power. But he's still at least, I don't know, I like his charisma. Like, he has something about him, at least. That's,
Yeah, a little
I
bit
don't mind
more
watching.
like active engagement instead of this like behind. It's still behind the scenes, but not. Um,
He's a little more
honestly,
charismatic.
yeah, this movie literally made me feel like, oh, this is A View to a Kill, but in like just the energy of it. It gives me similar energy vibes.
Sure.
Like, so.
Except Roger Moore looked like he couldn't be bothered for 90% of that movie.
I meant more in the sense the bad guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And just that sort of angle. It just gives me similar vibes to that, Christopher Walken and whatnot.
Yeah.
Definitely not in the sense of the action, but just because there's no hot air balloons over San Fran.
No Zeppelins.
No Zeppelins. No kidnapped by balloon. Balloon nappings.
No.
But it just, yeah, you do get a similar psychotic, oh, there's survivors, shoot them.
Right.
But yeah, Carver gives me similar vibes, and he just like, and just his that what you're saying is very still on point here. It's like, hey, we're even if we're just kind of not necessarily, but making it up. We're making the story, so let's show us the pictures and we'll give you the war.
Right.
As was coded in there. Dun, 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 dun.
Right. So. Yeah, on the whole, I don't mind Carver. I know a lot of people who watch the movie, they don't like the villain. They think he's too silly, but as you're explaining it, I kind of like that there's just this crazy insanity about him that he's really already unhinged. Like, and it's well before this point. It's not like he's just suddenly gone crazy. Like, he's so crazy up to this point that his whole mind is just, if I can control media, I can control the world, but I have to make the control happen under my own terms. Like, I can't just, and I guess you could say this about most Bond villains, so like even a Drax or a Carl, like, they're like, well, I'm going to sink half the population under the ocean, or I'm going to send them to space and stuff. Yeah, I see that, but this is something more tangible in the sense of, like, somebody probably has the ability to do this, or we're seeing it already, potentially, to some degree.
Yeah, maybe gives him a little bit more of a leg up, because we're not privy to Atlantis or Space Colony X.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Also, nice a little nod to Michael Wilson, because he pops up in the film. He's one of the early on. He's one of the companies that are on the big screen when we're introduced to him. I don't remember exactly. He's like the second one he talks to. That Carver's talking to.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's neat that he pops up in it.
Doesn't he pop up in a bunch of them? Like,
he probably does, but this is the first time I've noticed it.
Yeah, well, because it's usually really subtle, right? I think I think he started doing that in the Moore era, like one of the last two Moores, where he's just like a soldier who just walks by, or he's just like in these tiny. Or this is probably his most prominent one. Then, if you noticed it, like I didn't even pay attention. That was him.
He has talking parts.
Yeah, 2 lines, whatever he says. Okay, that is kind of cool. I didn't notice that.
That whole bit, though, was annoying. I will say that, where it's just like, what evil things are we doing? Yeah. I think it was they had the video of a president sleeping with a cheerleader or something like, ridiculous.
Release the video anyway.
Right? And it's like, what kind of Mr. Burns Simpson evil are you unleashing? What? Like, it was a little just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a little bit too, but again, this whole movie is just so like over the top in some regards that it's like, yeah, if this was a much more serious movie and the plot was really building up to this crescendo like they try to do in, say, Spectre or even Skyfall, something like that, then it would probably seem even more silly. But just because it's just so bombastic right from the start, it's like, yeah, it's kind of in vain with everything else that's going on here.
Right.
And he's so, like I said, he's got a really fun charisma about him. Like, remember when Michelle Yeoh gets captured and he's like pretending it gets so over the top, right? Like it's, borderline racist where he's pretending to do martial arts. And he's making like silly sounds and stuff. But then I like how he pauses and he's just dead serious. He's like, pathetic.
Pathetic. It's like, well, you're the one that's acting like a jackass.
He looks like a fool right now. But he's so unhinged, right? But he's got a controlled nature about him. Like when he finds out about his wife, right? And then he sends her to get killed. He's not like flipping tables and stuff. Like he's calculated as well.
Right. There's a chaos to the confusion, to the storm.
So, and yeah, like I find when he's on screen, like most of the stuff is kind of fun to see his interactions with people, and him and Bond have some really good back and forth. Like we see that with a lot of other villains, but this one is a bit more in the traditional, like the maniacal, crazy, got to stop this villain because he's going to destroy the Earth type interaction. Whereas like a Le Chiffre in Bond is not so much. Like it is, but the scale is pulled back. Or even GoldenEye, right? Like it's kind of, it looks a little different than it does here. So I kind of like that it's a bit of that throwback to the totally insane villains.
Just a little bit of World War III. Sure, let's go.
Yeah, just a bit. Some other stuff that's fun is like I like Q in this movie. He's got a little bit of time on screen, and the car, and like they're kind of fooling around with the car and stuff. Just kind of classic Q's, sort of quips and things. And I like that he works for Avis, apparently. So that was kind of funny. Anything else you got that's on the positive side of things?
I'm trying to think. Honestly, not so much. Not really. I kind of have more mixed bag / bad things.
Okay.
Left on my docket. So
okay. I like the Dr. Kaufman stuff. Just like the presentation of the character.
That feels another one that's like a bit more of a harkening back to, like I had just for a moment kind of flashbacks to From Russia with Love, of course, and everything. And who is that guy that plays him?
Which one? Grant?
No, Dr. Kaufman.
Oh, I don't know.
He's an actor you see him and you're like, oh, okay, I've seen you before in like 1,000 other things.
Okay. Maybe I have seen him and I just don't. Maybe the mustache throws me off or something. Like it just seem familiar.
See, I've got to look this up because it's going to bother me. Click clack, click clack.
You type as fast as Elliot Carver.
I know. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I seen that.
That was pretty.
With
ridiculous.
One hand too.
Well, yeah. I do like that he has like a tablet though.
Yeah, it is
like,
pretty.
Oh, geez, like that's interesting. Like he had a tablet in 90. What did you say this was? 97.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
So, let's see. Vincent Schiavelli.
Okay.
He was Fredrickson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was Mr. Vargas in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Okay, I can picture him in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because I just watched that last year. Yeah, okay.
Oh, so like, yeah, he's the subway ghost in Ghost.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is he in Batman Returns as well as like the guy with the monkey?
He's the organ grinder, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're right. He does pop up in a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
he pops up in a lot of just stuff real quick. He's
Smaller
got
roles mostly.
yeah, I mean, he passed away, looking at it, back in like 2005, but like,
Okay.
just a very just distinct look.
Yeah, for sure. Because he's kind of got like the bags under the eyes, right? And like his eyes and the elongated face are very distinct. So. Yeah, okay. Yeah, now that you brought that up, now it's definitely coming back to memory for sure.
So,
But I like his bit is short here, like what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
yeah.
It's not very long, and I just like
Yeah.
I could make the proper effect. Like he's fun. Like he's just a fun kind of throwaway villain, and I like the little bit with him, and I like the cold kill there is really good too, and even the bullet casing flies off on screen like.
Well, as I say, this one I'm not as keen on. Not to try to take away from it, and it has nothing to do with his character, because I like it for this, but for Carver's end, it's like, this is a much more, this is more like 80s action hero psycho killing that Bond does for Carver at the end. But I like it for with Dr. Kaufman's character, where he's like, sorry, I was when he's got him, when the tables have turned.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is just, just trying to do my profession, trying to do my job, and like,
I'm just a professional doing a job.
Right? It's like, so am I. Oh,
yeah.
Like, oof.
Yeah. And then we get that hint again in The World's Not Enough, right? Essentially a similar kill. So. Yeah, I just find it's a fun sequence. It's short, it's fast, and it's fun. And it's kind of somewhat reasonable how Bond escapes too, right? Like it isn't just sort of an explosion rocks the building, and like like some of the times where Bond escapes from some of these things in such a ridiculous fashion. Like a massive chain of events happens that somehow gets Bond loose from his bindings or something. Like he gets up with his gadgets, right? Like
right.
So I'm like, yeah, like that's pretty plausible.
Similar to how he's pretty much dead to rights with Grant there in From Russia with Love.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Pretty close. That cell phone is pretty darn useful in this movie.
Right.
He uses it for just about everything. Pretty close to everything, actually. So
she just needs more taser stuff.
Taser. Well, he uses it to get through that lock, and then
hits
Kaufman with it, and yeah. So I like that a lot, and then I like as well the what was that point I wanted to make? I just lost it.
Oh no.
Well, I kind of like Bond kind of dropping in on the Carver party thing, right? And just like, yeah, again, that's some of that back and forth with Carver, and it is unfortunate, as you said, we don't get a bit more of what's going on with the Terry Hatcher character, because she gets offed pretty quickly. But there's a build up there that a little bit of anticipation that just unfortunately the payoff is so short lived, unfortunately. But I love the scene of him just sitting there in the chair, with his collar undone.
The Smirnoff.
Yeah, like it's a good look. Like it's just a good shot of him.
It's well, because this is what I mean, is like that, most of this movie, it's turn off your brain and let it go. And here's a little bit of stew, a little bit of like this smoldering kind of bit about him. And it's him. He's waiting to tussle.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of Dalton. There's a Dalton scene that's very similar to that. So it was like, I'm not sure if that's what was being portrayed here, but it's like, I like that, there's a bit of that continuity of the character, like kind of responding in that fashion, like he's expecting someone to come kill him, but he's sitting there just kind of not getting drunk necessarily, but he's kind of probably to ease the nerves, right? Like he's drinking kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, that's that paranoia. but it's like it's the paranoia of your job kind of thing in his case.
Yeah.
Like just out of the different Bond films and stuff. Whenever going through the hotels, always inspecting the rooms and stuff because he's already situated there. He's just that paranoia of waiting to see who's gonna try something.
Right. Yeah, so I like that. And then I like the Michelle Yeoh character. I don't know how you feel about that, but she's a little underutilized at points because she's brought up early, then she's brought up a second time where she's escaping the facility there
in a ridiculous fashion that nobody notices.
Yeah,
other than
or doesn't care, I guess. Which again gets played by Halle Berry. Kind of has a similar thing that happens in Die Another Day. A very similar sort of. Remember, she's on the catwalk with the thing as well. Very similar. Yeah, that's kind of throwaway, but yeah, she's a good foil, right? Like she's a good opposite end of a Bond, and I think there's some decent chemistry there. Like it's not romantically, but professionally, I like the chemistry there. And like, what does he say about I'm the best corrupt Western agent that can get through? I find some of the dialogue is fun.
Yeah, I would say a bit more of a mixed bag, and it's not on her. It's more of just her skills. Just don't. It's almost like trying to push it through a strainer, and just pushing this clay through a strainer, and so you get all these like little spaghetti bits, and it's just not. It's not the whole piece, if that makes sense. Like it's just, it works, but I feel like kind of similarly. You have that snippet of her doing the fight scene and stuff, and then like towards the end, she's got this taking on the people there in the engine room and stuff, which is fine. It's just like yeah, it just feels like it's square object trying to get pushed through a round hole.
And in the sense that she's not playing a traditional female lead, or her...
Well, just her talents and everything, I don't think are... It's like a very, very small, and maybe it's because of watching her psychotically badass go.
Well, they don't let her off the chain here very much. I mean, that's true.
Right. And I think that plays a big part into it. It's like, I've seen what she can do, and she can do a hell of a lot more than what they're willing to let her do, and I think it's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't want her to also outshine Bond, right? So I kind of see why they'd have to kind of rein it in a little bit with her. But I still feel like she gets enough to do that. It's not to the point of where I'm like, oh wow, they really completely wasted any possible potential here. It's just, you're right, it's maybe not taken to the extreme that it probably could have. But she gets
see, this is where I think this is the film where you do that. This is the film where you do that kind of, okay, we're cranking it to 11. It's already action. You're talking about the Shuriken Ninja Star sort of.
That's a great kill.
That pose where she's just like, and then Bond steps in and he shoots the other one.
Well, then you get the similar thing later when she's beat down all those guys, and then Bond walks in and just punches the guy in the face later.
Oh, well, that's earlier in the film.
Yeah, I know, earlier, but and then you get the guy who is pretending he's looking for the match, and it's like, this guy's soaking wet. Like, he walks up to you. He's clearly not Vietnamese. Why would you allow this man to walk up to you without being a little bit concerned that something was wrong? And it's funny when he's just like aimlessly walking around, and like nobody, you and I have both been in parts of Asia where you're like, okay, yes, there's definitely the hustle and bustle, where nobody's gonna really give 2 seconds worth of your time to even care that you're there. But the reality is, often stuff happens, right? Like, and I don't mean bad stuff, but it's just like you could be walking by and a load of schoolgirls are giggling because they're like, oh, Western guy, foreigner, whatever, right? Like, I know this is a moment in time and it's a movie and all stuff, but it's just kind of funny how nobody, like, and he's like kind of quite a bit taller than pretty much everybody's walking by. So it just looks kind of funny. It's a little awkward.
He sticks out.
Very fish out of water in that moment.
Right.
But I just find that funny. The guy doesn't flinch. He's just like, oh, you're looking for a light? Like, I would not feel comfortable with a random guy who looks nothing like any of my countrymen walking out, soaking wet, completely drenched in water, and not be questioning what's going on.
Right. It's kind of like, but in the same hand, this is the unspoken. He abused the unspoken language of smokers and offering a light.
He does this a lot. He does this in Goldeneye. He does it several times in this, right? Because the guy at the beginning, the Russian soldier that's looking for a light.
It is, well, but he does light it for him.
He does, but then he says filthy habit. Filthy habit. Which is interesting, because I think they wanted to portray that Bond no longer smokes, so I thought that was interesting. Right. Smokes are bad, right? So they wanted to kind of portray that right away, because Roger Moore, Roger smoked, he smoked those like larger cigars or whatever.
Right.
And then Dalton definitely smoked cigarettes. So did Connery, obviously. Did Lazenby smoke? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
He probably did. Like in the 60s, it wasn't really like, oh, this is bad.
He was like anti. Yeah, I think it was just I don't know if they really. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe at one of the dinner scenes or something, he was smoking or something. Who knows? But yeah, it's just that is kind of fun. You just wanted Jackie Chan to crash the party and just turn this into
not even that. Like I get maybe like trying to. I think there could have been a little bit more like. I know it's a little harder when on the ship that feels like it's an eternity long, not time wise, but just spatially. It's just the ship looks a lot bigger. Yeah. But it just feels. You get that one little snippet of it, and I get that it makes it a little less Bondish in a way. Yeah. But I don't know. It's like one of those sort of attempts to take like a song and then to change it into this is a folk song. Well, we're now going to change it into a rock song. Right. Not too much of a leap, but it works. Right. So it's not like, oh, this is a folk song, and now we're going to turn it into an EDM trap rap song. Have fun, kids. Like it's not that wildly out there. It just feels like that conversion isn't quite. It just feels like it's just missing something.
I wonder if that scene when she escapes that facility, if they had something there, like if they had her have to, beat up,
do a little more instead of,
yeah, maybe just to kind of. Not only preface that she's a skilled combatant, but just gives her a little more time to showcase her talent.
Maybe. I mean, I know that takes away from like, oh, who is she sort of thing, but
you're going to this movie, you probably have you've seen the trailer most likely, right? So, and if she's scaling the wall, she's obviously some kind of agent or something.
Right.
I think you've already got your clue at that point. So they could have probably put. Or go through a side door and there'd be like 3 guards outside just standing around smoking, and then she has to beat them up so she can get off the building or something.
Or that, or even just just typical. I don't know how you would like in that building in her. I don't want to say hideout, but like that typical. Resourceful fighting.
Right.
I have a broom. I have a mop. That sort of thing, and a little bit more of that, because that one little scene is neat. It's nice. It does do the. I don't know if it was from this. Once they had shown it more in like Western audiences or what, but I remember that kind of that move of run up the wall to flip over.
Yeah.
I remember that being very abused as a visual
Well, yes, in Hong Kong movies and stuff and so forth, definitely was, but I
Well, I
wouldn't
could have swore
say.
that after this, there was a lot of seeing
Oh,
that.
possibly. But I mean, Jackie Chan must have done that when Rumble in the Bronx became a big hit too. Like, I'm pretty
And
sure he probably did that stunt.
maybe it could have been that as well.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was
could have
just kind of like,
it's such a common trope to see in all those martial arts movies from the 80s and 90s.
right.
So, not really out of place, but
Well, yeah, less out of place, and it was more like I think because of seeing
less
something
impressive.
already like that. Yeah, I like the latter bit,
Mm-hmm.
when she takes it and then the dude just kind of rips it out and she grabs onto it. I like that little.
I like the bike wheel that she throws at the guy.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me being more like I like that more prop fighting sort of thing. To me, that's always a really cool choreography element that Jackie Chan was just fantastic with putting in there and stuff. So to me, I'm like, oh, I wait for those things and you just get such a small little nibble. It's like, oh, please, some more.
Yeah, I know, but it is a Bond film, so.
Right, yeah. Instead, you get Bond getting handcuffed to a water pipe that he just rips off. I'm like, oh, that's not nearly as graceful, Bond, but thank you.
No. It did, to his defense, it looked pretty weak. It wasn't like.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Welded to the. Roger Moore would have just like, I'll just have to bite through my wrist, I guess.
Where's my third nipple to cut through it?
The third nipple laser.
Yes.
The Moonraker laser. Jeez. Well, and Pierce did have the laser watch in the previous movie, though, so they could have incorporated something like that, I suppose. Right? But,
nah, I'm fine with that. I kind of like that he just rips through it. He's like, whatever.
Resourceful to some degree.
Mm.
Yep. I guess the last thing that I thought was a little bit kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing that kind of made me chuckle was just the whole idea that she basically has a little Q branch in that area. Like it's just funny how it kind of feels so out of place, but it just fits with the flow of this movie of like, just go with it, right? Like it's fine. But just, you got the dragon that breathes fire and the fan that, spits out the blades and stuff like that. So instead of having Q present that earlier on, it was kind of funny that, there's, the Chinese also have, a branch that does similar type gadgets.
Yeah, and then he remarks, hey, I know this watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought I'm fine with it. It's nothing wrong with it, really. I have one last thing. Sorry. I really like Bond's gun in this movie. He's upgraded from the PPK to, what is it, the P99 or whatever that one is? It's just a slick looking gun, and Pierce looks really good with that gun. And I don't know, just thought it was a really cool looking gun. A little extra firepower to it.
Right. And they have that Walther later on there. And it's just like, oh, I've been asking Q about this.
Yeah.
The heck?
It just looks cool because he uses the PPK early on in the movie, and then
the PPK. I'll be honest, that thing looks weak as hell. Like it's just so puny looking.
Well, that's why this new Walther, is it the P99? Is that what it is? I think it's the P99. I think it is. It's called. But anyway, it's a nice looking upgrade, right? It's similar gun. It's basically the same gun, but it looks a little more modern. It looks like it's got a little more punch to it.
Right.
And it's got a little. Visually, it's a little more appealing.
Yeah, because that standard issue PP.
You might need to get a new standard.
It's pew pew, as in that's the sound it makes, pew pew. It just doesn't. No, thank you. It looks like it's something out of the 50s that was made as a bottle rocket that got converted into a gun and sort of left there to just be like, okay, all right, cool.
Well, even the silenced one in GoldenEye looks Like it looks like it's got a little more to it.
Mm.
Like it's it just looks like it's lacking a little bit of that visual flair, and probably because we were spoiled with all of these new weaponry, right, in the 80s and 90s for action movies.
Mm.
So seeing the PPK, it does look quite minuscule compared to a lot of other handguns you'd see, in other movies. So I like the upgrade. I thought it looked cool.
Okay.
But I'm ready to move on if you're ready as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did you
Some
want to hit
hit
that
and misses.
middle mark? Because you're saying you got some misses there that are not like the worst, but not quite. I'm like, I hate it.
I would say Carver, like the henchman. He's not like
What's that guy's name? Stamper.
Stamper. Thank you, not Carver, but Carver's henchman Stamper. He's not like the worst. Little ineffectual, but he's got at least he doesn't like. Looks like he's about ready to more so to go to a 90s rave than a.
Well, so that was Necros was going to an 80s rave, and this guy's going to the 90s rave. Because he's very similar to Necros, right? Like there's a lot of similarity there.
Mm-hmm.
Who I guess you could say is really Grant was the archetype, I guess, right? That they kind of follow through. So I'm okay with it. It's just you're right. It's nothing amazing, but it's certainly not.
It's not bad. He's not awful. I do like some of the interactions with him, especially when he's like Dr. Kaufman was my a mentor figure and stuff, and Bond's like, oh, ooh.
You need to realign your allegiances or something.
It explains a lot, kind of thing. Like
those tools look pretty vicious.
Need to find new role model, kind of thing. He's like, oh. And then he's like, his record for torture was 52 hours. I hope to break it.
No thanks. Those tools, they look like some kind of Klingon weaponry or something. Right? Like don't they? Like they really do. So
what's the Baelith or something? Byleth or something? What's
the two-sided blade that looks like the one from Conan, the twin fangs of the serpent or whatever it's called.
But I don't mind him. I don't, but I just because I think the thing that really sticks out is the part where the ship is going aflame, and then he just fires like a explosive over towards Bond, but they're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's good. It's kind of in the general area.
Yeah, he's probably dead.
He's probably dead.
Yeah.
Even though he's probably been dead 30 times, but he's probably dead this time.
They haven't seen the previous films, so.
So,
although it would have been pretty funny if like Dalton crawled out of the wreck or something. A bait and switch.
But they just he's fine, but I'm just kind of like
He's not super memorable.
Right, yeah. There's just not nothing too quirky, and nothing too nothing like with him outside of like that one scene I mentioned, because then it's right after that they jump off out of the building onto the banners and everything, and then the motorcycle sequence, and then it's go. Yeah, so
for sure.
So that would be one of them that would be a little bit more. The like the whole underwater bit.
Oh yeah, The kind of that's actually one of the slower moments that. Yeah, it's just forgot about until you said it.
Right. I mean, I like how it's like, oh, we're figuring out that they've been given bad information because the satellite's been hacked, and they're figuring that out and everything, and they just kind of, they do the halo jump, and, okay, cool. Like the jump, there's a whole lot of, hey, make sure you do this, and do this, and do this, and then it's just, right, and then there's like it doesn't really
amount to much.
Well, the opening for Metal Gear Solid 3 made it a lot more cinematic.
Okay.
You know, like that's kind of what happens here. There's not a deft touch for it. It just kind of happens, and then sploosh into the water, and then it's just kind of like, okay, and then she's there, and it's sort of like,
it is kind of silly how they recognize each other.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess let's play devil's advocate. I guess, he might recognize her eyes. I guess you could make that assumption because he did meet her at the party or whatever.
Right.
But, somebody who's got this huge tube in their mouth, like, you're not going off a lot to really, I suppose you could make that inference, but it is a little bit silly.
Yeah, it's a little, bleh.
Yeah.
So, the stealth ship, was a real thing. I think it was made in like the 70s or something, which is pretty ridiculous. But more importantly, every time they say stealth in there, I think of like all the times, comedically or otherwise, especially like comedically from Team 4-Star or Mystery Science Theater, they did this as well. Whenever there was space, it was always like, oh, my space curtains, oh, my space, this sort of thing. And it always feels like whenever stealth in the stealth ships being mentioned, it's like, oh, my stealth armor, oh, my stealth, kind of thing. I'm just like, and I know it doesn't happen a lot, but I'm just kind of like, it's so silly. Like, I feel like the writing kind of sucks in this film.
Yeah.
Like,
somebody just wrote a whole bunch of fun set pieces, basically, it feels like.
Well, but this kind of boils into it a little bit, is that it doesn't feel like Brosnan gets much to go off of a lot, except for like early on. And, just as much as I bemoan that Michelle doesn't get a lot to do, or, kind of feels a little bit more of an odd player in the performance, just because of her skill set and her talents. It feels like Brosnan kind of feels like a little receded here. There's just not, I don't know, just I don't feel like the quips altogether are nearly as punchy. I mean, he's having fun.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. He looks like he's having a good old time. But I don't know. There's just something that feels really off to me about the writing for it, like the dialogue writing and stuff. So,
okay.
I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, as you bring it up, I can see certainly some of the dialogue bits and parts, and you're right. A lot of the quips, they don't necessarily fall flat, but they don't have that extra little. You'll remember that one quip from this particular movie. Whether you remember which movie it's from is not really important, but just there aren't any really super, super memorable bits, I guess, like you might pick out from others, right? Like even, you're mentioning about the punchiness for him. Like I'm thinking of even Die Another Day. He has that moment, right, when she's like, "That's a pleasure you'll never have," right? And he has that look on his face. You don't really get the closest moment you get is the car when he reinflates the wheels. That's probably the most sort of playful look you get out of him, more or less.
He looks like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah,
it's like, this is awesome.
Great time. But yeah, more or less, he's kind of got to play it somewhat served, which I guess is a bit weird for just how much fun. You can still tell he's having a lot of fun. You're right, you can tell, but the writing doesn't allow for it to some degree. But the body language is there. He's very bought into this movie, it feels like. Like, when there's action scenes, running.
Yeah, it's the second one going on.
Yeah, he seems very engaged, like, in the movie, so.
This is the before times, before he got really sick and tired of trying to do these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'd probably save it better for GoldenEye, but there's some time. A lot of time passes before he finally dons the mask of Bond.
Yeah.
So, but Yeah, it just feels like there's just not as good dialogue in this one, and I think it suffers a bit for it.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you've got some bad things you want to throw out there.
Some of the back and forth with like the two sides of the military is just kind of like very forgettable for such a big, potentially earth-shattering event that's going on. It's not given a lot of prominence, right? It's like, oh, the British are mad. Oh, the Chinese are mad. And like two Megs flew over a sinking ship, and like I don't know the theater of war that well to know, like, is that a truly catastrophic event to see that happen?
Oh, it'd be a pretty that'd be a very concerning thing.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be a lot more going on, but and again, I get it, we're in the context of a Hollywood movie, so they gotta move things along, but it just doesn't seem like the emphasis on this is really, really bad is there. It's there, but it's not as prominent as it probably should be.
I'd say the thing that really also kind of doesn't help is a lot of the shots seem kind of bleh when it comes to that, with like the ships and everything. It's like, oh, it's dark. We gotta make it at nighttime so that so you can only just see the one ship. So because we don't have the money for a lot more. So
yeah, make sure we can black out, like, if there's something in the distance, or we're just off the coast. We gotta make it look like we're out in the middle of the sea.
Right, that, and it's not showing a whole fleet or something of the sort. So it's just like, yeah, there's totally a lot of us here.
Right.
Don't mind us.
Yeah. The boat scene is okay, like at the end. It's kind of reminiscent of, because we just watched The Spy Who Loved Me. There's kind of flashes of that in there, and I know you didn't really enjoy that, and I was like, I don't mind in The Spy Who Loved Me a lot, but for whatever reason here it feels a little lackluster. I think probably just you get burned out on so many other fun, exciting scenes prior to this. So.
Well, I think it's really it doesn't, to me, like, that's not what Bond is. Bond is not just a like adrenaline junkie the whole time, and Craig certainly played a bit more into that, especially with Quantum. But Quantum also, it wasn't even adrenaline. It was kind of more like rage. Rage was sustaining that. So thematically it played a little bit easier to this, where, yeah, there's the rage, I guess, with Paris's passing, but I mean, obviously it doesn't really, like, Pierce doesn't really emote that so well, if that's supposed to be in there, kind of thing. It's just this rage of killing this person that he could have been a little bit closer with, kind of thing. But
and he's such a suave Bond, right? Like, that's why even in The World Is Not Enough, right, when there's a scene with he's watching the torture sequence of Elektra, and he like puts his hand on the screen and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, like I feel it, but yeah, I just see him as such a jovial, like, more happy type Bond than the serious Bond. So it's not to say I didn't buy into it, but it doesn't have quite as much of a emotional impact.
No, I could see that. Yeah, it just doesn't quite play to his strengths and what he brings to the table.
Yeah, like I could see Dalton doing that potentially. Connery to some degree. I think Craig's fine when he does have to do that in his range. I think he's fine. I think he's not too bad. But Pierce and Roger Moore, like, they're much more, like, suave and more charismatic in a different way. So
right. Well, that's kind of going back to with Moore as well. Like with The Spy Who Loved Me, that's when they actually started to appeal more to it being Moore and not, let's have him do some of the more aggressive things that Connery did. It's like, that's not really more.
No. And
so.
Yeah, but honestly, to his credit though, like the few times that he did do things that were a bit, like he still pulled it off, not bad. Like thinking of For Your Eyes Only, like it's not bad. It just didn't suit him all the time.
Right.
So yeah, these are all good points. I would say as well, like M is fine in this movie, but doesn't feel like she helps push the narrative a lot.
She's like, yeah, she is not in this, not a whole lot.
No.
A very, very minor portion of it.
Like, does she have two interactions with Bond? Like one in the car.
Where she's drinking. Yeah.
She's drinking in the car. And then
not driving, at least. So.
No, she's not. Is it just before that she meets with him as well? Oh yes, because remember
he has the paper.
I can't remember who those two other characters are now. One is like the admiral of the fleet or something, and then there's like that politician. I can't remember their names, but
yeah, it's such a because they don't really. Like, I think one's the Ministry of Defense, but I don't really remember his name at all.
Mm-hmm. You know which character I always wish would get a bit more screen time too is the Robinson character.
Oh, right.
The guy who's always with, and he kind of gets replaced with Tanner in the Craig ones. He's a good-looking guy. Like, you just feel like he should be in a few action sequences.
He looks like he would beat somebody's ass pretty good.
He looks like an agent, right? He looks like he could almost basically be a double, but he probably should be a 00. Like, he's got a great look about him. Good charisma. Like, he's not barely on screen, and you're like, this guy's got he's got that kind of it factor kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But again, and just the role doesn't allow him to do much. I think the only time he ever holds a gun is in the simulation in Die Another Day. I think is the only time you see him kind of in an action motif, which is, I just feel like he could be a little bit more utilized, but yeah, unfortunately he's not.
Right, and then, Moneypenny doesn't really get too much.
No.
So
basically a phone call, essentially.
Well, she's in the car as well, making jabs about pumping.
Yeah, which I forget. Is that after the Oxford thing?
Yes.
With the terrible linguist joke.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very common.
And it's just like that's a bad scene for a number of reasons. Like, you're meaning to tell me you really think the other person on the other line cannot hear your lips smacking all over a girl's body and her lips, like, and you're talking to Moneypenny of all. Like,
she noticed it because she makes
No, I know, but just like, it's just like, and you almost get like a full butt shot there.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close to showing it all there, pretty much. So. Mm-hmm. I don't even think you see that girl's face, do you?
No, not like a direct shot.
No.
It's kind of at angles.
She's just there for that one sequence and that particular shot, I guess. Yeah, I'm like, I could do without this scene. I don't really need this.
Right.
I don't think I have. The score is not bad. I like some of these sort of the melodic stuff that plays, like when Waylon falls in the water and like the sort of melodic catch of the theme. I'm like, it's fine. It's not bad. Not one of the more memorable like soundtracks, but it's certainly not like my ears are bleeding. Aside from the theme song,
which we'll get into. Right, the middle part, like I said, it's a mixed bag. It's like, I really like the ending theme.
Motorcycle chase I found was good.
So it's just kind of like, all right. I do wonder how this film would have been had, even though I know he didn't want to, but Martin Campbell, if he came back and directed this instead of doing The Mask of Zorro, which I'm fine with doing because I love The Mask of Zorro.
So good.
Totally fine with him making that choice. I appreciate it.
Anthony Hopkins was asked to be in this movie, and he chose to be in Mask of Zorro as well.
Oof. Oof.
And he's awesome in Mask of Zorro.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Is it De La Vega? Is that his character in the movie? I can't remember. But I watched that last year too, and I was like, wow, why haven't I watched this more regularly? It's such a good movie.
It's such a good movie. But I wonder how it would have been if he was directing it instead of Spottiswoode, because I don't really know much about the guy.
I don't either.
But
yeah, he never came back for another Bond or anything. So
yeah, and I just don't know how his hand in it really plays, because it's just like, yeah, I don't know. There's just something the way that this movie is cut. This movie is directed and pieced together, just doesn't seem like a very, like I said before, not a very deft hand seemed to be guiding this one.
Yeah, it's cohesive enough, but I can see what you mean. Like it's not maybe as bad as Quantum when it comes to the cuts and things like that, but it's probably on the lower end of like the production probably should have been tightened up. Some of the slow motion stuff is not well. Like, it's just unnecessary.
It's weird, yeah.
It's just unnecessary. It's I don't know if that was just a director's choice alone, or if it was like, no, we really gotta, this is the cool thing in Hollywood right now, right? Just to really do this slow motion so you can get this, I don't know what it's supposed to evoke, but yeah, it's not really, it's almost pointless, really. Like, it's just,
right.
There's no real value to it.
Yeah, I guess a positive is that also the Devonshire crewman, Gerard Butler shows up. I don't know if you noticed him. He's the one that says that.
I did not see that. Gerard makes a.
Well, he has a line in it.
I have to go watch that.
Yeah, he has. It's just that one line, real quick, about like
visual contact or something.
Either like right as the MiGs fly off, or something. But it's a very heavy accent, and that's our boy Gerard.
Can you imagine him as Bond? Put the gun down, like you just, or I'll put you down.
Bond, but he's got the body of Leonidas, so he's just in a loincloth the whole time.
Well, that's pretty close to Craig. I mean, Craig's pretty ripped, so.
So you appeal to the 300 crowd, make it more like that, yeah.
You could have brought him in as 003, just reverse 300 to.
That would have been actually pretty good.
That'd be pretty clever. Funnily enough that you say that, though, I don't know the actor's name. I believe he's German, but the guy who's supposed to be the head of the crew is also the guy who's the main German in Last Crusade. The guy who's in the tank. That same German soldier. That's the same actor.
Dude, you always bring this up. Like, I don't.
You've seen Last Crusade, though. Remember you saying you've seen it.
I've seen it, but I don't really remember it. I've seen it
Well, for those of you out there who remember Last Crusade, that's the same actor in this. I don't know his name. I believe he's a German actor, but
okay.
Yeah, he plays the head, whatever, he's the captain or whatever of the ship, and he's got the headset on. Older guy.
Of the Bedford?
Yes, like at the end.
Okay,
yeah. The older captain or whatever his rank is. Yeah, he only has like a couple of lines as well, but it's like zooms like right in on his face, so like you'll recognize him right away.
Yeah, I certainly didn't. So, but like I said, I don't really remember that movie.
He's in a bunch of other stuff too, right? Like he's in some other stuff here and there. Probably mostly European films, but he does show up in some Hollywood fare as well. But yeah, Last Crusade fans will probably recognize him right away.
Gotcha.
Are we going to destroy this song, or are we going to destroy this song?
I hate this song. I hate this song.
It's got to be on, like, for sure bottom 5 for me. Like, it's not even like horrible. It just stinks. Like, it just doesn't, especially for this type of action movie, it just does nothing for the movie. It
does not like jive with it. Tonally in the sense of like the music itself isn't bad. I just don't like Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, I don't really like Sheryl Crow's voice either. Like, her type of singing just doesn't really do anything for me. I will say the opening sequence stuff is not terrible. Like, I don't mind it. Like the imagery and stuff. Some of it's kind of like, but the other parts I'm like, okay, it's in line with Bond. So
that, and they were tasteful in like doing the electric circuitry kind of lady forms and stuff, but then they have the video pass by and showing a bit more of a look. They'd always stop before they would get over to the breasts and stuff, so it wasn't like, oh hey, here's boob shots kind of thing. So they were tasteful.
Not for your eyes only, for The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I don't mind the visual like presentation. The diamond stuff is a little bit weird, like, since it doesn't really play into anything in the movie. It almost feels like it should be for Die Another Day. But it's not horrendous or anything. It falls in line with what you might expect with the scenes. But yeah, I guess I shouldn't say we're going to destroy the song. It's just, tonally it doesn't fit the film. It's not a very engaging song. I mean, good on them for, again, fitting the title in, and it doesn't kind of totally fall apart by fitting it in, because it is not easy probably to fit that into a title theme song. But it's just very forgettable. Maybe some people who's a really big Sheryl Crow fan might really like it, but I just doesn't do anything.
It's just boring.
It kind of doesn't fit some of the imagery too. Like I said, it's a little too, and I appreciate that sometimes Bond will go flip flop, right? Like if you go to GoldenEye, you have the Tina Turner performance is very kind of classic Bond, I guess, if you will, right? Like a very boisterous and like powerful kind of singer, and then they'll bring it back with a lot of the ones we don't like, though, right? Like All Time High and
Is it all time high?
I'm editing that out. For Your Eyes Only, like some of those slower ones that a lot of the tail end Bourne movies started to get those ones. So I can kind of see why they wanted to do it, but it just doesn't
because
fit
they chose
tone.
those songs so they could put more to sleep because he was getting old, and they're like, we need you to be rested, young man.
Go West, young man.
Go West, young man.
But I could see this fitting, this tone fitting better for something like The World Is Not Enough, potentially, or even possibly Die Another Day, because I don't know. Well, maybe not Die Another Day. Die Another Day is really bonkers. So
yeah.
But maybe The World Is Not Enough. I could maybe see it working.
Maybe.
I know you like that song, so I know you wouldn't want to replace it. But I'm just saying, like, I could maybe fit.
Well, I would. In a tonal sense, I'd be like, that's a bit more. Yeah. No, just throw it to the Moore era.
With Sheryl Crow, like 10 or something?
Just shove the song back over that way. Yeah.
Oh, would you like to see All Time High on this soundtrack instead?
That can be forgotten.
Was it Sheena Easton? Was it her?
I think so.
Anyways, yeah. Yeah, it's just not, unfortunate.
It's just more of like does not jive with tastes at all.
Yep.
It's just like,
yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the case. So yeah, anything else you want to hit on, or do you want to hit some scores?
Well, let's roll the scores.
All right. So I have to go first. Is that how we've been doing this?
You did choose this one, so yes.
Okay. I'm gonna guess we're not gonna be too close on this one. Actually, I've got a really soft spot for this movie. I just have fun watching it, and that's just the period. Like, I just have a lot of fun watching it. I feel like I can put it on any time and just sit through it and enjoy it, or have it on in the back and doing stuff and watch like 20 minutes and step away and come back and watch the next 20 minutes. It's just a fun kind of Hollywoodized Bond movie. And there's definitely things here that aren't perfect. Like you said, some of the direction and some of the sort of pacing on some of the dialogue bits and so forth. But I'm having a tough time with the score. I feel like I want to give it higher, but I'm going to sit high. I'm going to give it a 5.5 because I just have fun with it.
Okay. Sure. Now we kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand, like the scoring. I more so, there's of course that little inkling of this is just a personal put to it, but it's also like I feel like this could be something that you could like. If somebody hasn't watched a Bond film, maybe you might be able to show them this. It comes harder with the Craig one since there's that through line, but I like this one. I'm not a big fan of this one. It's just eh. However, it is one that you could have somebody watch, and it's not Die Another Day silly, or at least cranked to the silly meter to silliest. So
Right.
that's always reassuring. I would probably put this as it's probably just a 4. Like it's entertaining enough, but it is not. I'm not a big fan of it. Like if I was to really to like just be personal on it, I'd probably give it more like a 3, 2.5 or 3. But like 4.
Okay, fair enough. And I know Michelle Yeoh's performance probably, leaves somewhat, desirable growth, I guess, like if she had a bit more space. But I do like her as I hate really the Bond girl, whatever you want to call them, but just like as a female lead. I still have fun with her in this, and I feel like she's still above competent, and she did kind of help pave the way on, pushing that forward a little bit on some of the abilities and the expectations, I guess, of what that role can be like. So, but and she probably could have really pushed it over the edge, but then everyone to follow would have a pretty tough act to try to, get up to snuff on. But yeah,
it was such a tough act that they
went the complete opposite direction.
Denise Richards into a nuclear physicist. So
they sure did. It's been on.
That's all right. I forgive you. Sophie Marceau's in the movie.
She is.
Right.
So she really helps anchor that quite a lot. Like Denise Richards is up, 15 feet into the atmosphere, and she's trying to bring her back down to earth.
But yeah, there's just something with this movie that it just feels like there are parts here, but it just doesn't click. And maybe it's just me; it just doesn't click with. But yeah.
I can see this being a letdown for people who really are fond of GoldenEye as well.
And that probably plays part into it, but I was trying to step away from that.
And I don't just mean you. Like we're talking like a generation of prominently little boys, but little girls too, that played the game, and so if they hadn't even seen the movie, right, they have this affinity of what James Bond would be like. And if they've seen the movie and played the game, like they have an expectation. And so
I think they kind of hit it though. They hit it a little bit with all the gunfire.
Yeah,
it's very video game-ish.
It does. It happened to be like that for sure. But I could see where like the villains aren't as memorable as say GoldenEye, right? Or
I have been needing somebody.
The soundtrack of GoldenEye. Just because if you played the game, it's just ringing in your head, right? You've replayed the same levels and things. So I think there's, so I can see why people would be like, oh, this isn't as good as GoldenEye, but it's no different than watching Quantum. Be like, oh, it wasn't Casino Royale. No, it's not Casino Royale. It's a different movie. So,
exactly. Right.
And it doesn't, just when you hit those highs of highs that, or the points that people feel are the highs, it is very hard to follow up. So, and this movie at least is somewhat. You can say it's a step down, but it's not like a massive draw. So,
it's not a stumble.
Yeah.
You don't fall down the stairs, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a stumble and catch yourself part of the way rather than roll down 4 steps.
It's a graceful one. Everybody sees you stumble, but you kind of like get out of it, and you're like, oh, that's pretty smooth.
Only you've seen the buffoonery that took place 30 seconds before, and everyone else is like, look how graceful it is. Yeah. But it is your pick next, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know there's
many.
There's 3 of them left.
Yep.
Other than the last one. And I was very, very
2 are close, right? Like 2 are very close in time and stuff, and then you got one that's way off.
Right. And so I'm going to, I had my mind set on this other one, but kind of going through it, I literally about like 3 minutes ago was like, you know what? I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna go with License to Kill.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was gonna go in a different route, but License to Kill is where I want to go.
Okay. I off air, I will try to attempt to guess what the other pick might have been. As I don't know for sure, but I feel like it must have been something.
I mean, you don't have many other choices to go.
No, I mean, it's a 50-50 at that point. Right. So. Okay, but License to Kill.
Yeah, I want to, since Timothy Dalton impressed me so much.
Get ready for some gratuitous 80s violence.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already kind of had that with.
Oh, but this one cranks it up.
Well, yeah. Any other last words?
No, it's hard to believe we're getting down to the wire here. It's crazy to think there was a 33% chance for any of those films to be picked. That seems like an eternity ago. We were just like, oh, we have all these movies.
Well, I mean, it kind of was. We had a little bit of a little sidetrack, but
yeah, well, yeah, kind of. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Timothy Dalton offers in his second and final film.
Sadness, heartbreak. And yeah, there'll be a lot to talk about on that one.
I'm sure.
So, but yeah, like I kind of was just mentioning there before, this is one for myself that's just like, it's yeah, I'm not too big on it, but there are probably a lot of people who may, in what you had said, be disappointed because it's not GoldenEye, but that's not fair to it. It is not GoldenEye. The title is Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah. And it is, it's yeah. So, I don't know. That is it for me. If people like the Sheryl Crow opening song,
go enjoy elsewhere.
Apologies on your
yes
failure in your taste transplants, because you might need some new ears. But that's all right. The half deaf guy is the one that's saying it. So, but yeah, that's it from us. And we will return.